Story 1. So, here's a quick reminder that politics and values are often different concepts. If you and I both want people to be healthy and educated but disagree about the best way to achieve those goals, we hold different political beliefs. That's something we can navigate. However, if you and I disagree about what defines a person or whether everyone deserves the same rights, then we differ in our values, which is a very different matter. Story 2. I stopped hanging out with a guy after he joined the Ku Klux Klan. Does being a racist person count as political beliefs? Story 3. Yes, I will not maintain a relationship with anyone who commits, condones, or excuses sexual assault or rape. Story 4. I lost my stepbrother to the MAGA movement. He reached a point where we couldn't discuss anything without him bringing up Trump. The last straw was when he refused to attend our grandmother's wake because the funeral home had a mask policy. Story 5. I ran into an old friend a few years ago and was genuinely excited to see him. He was one of the smartest and most thoughtful people I knew. During dinner and drinks, he began discussing various conspiracy theories and insisted that I needed to do my own research because the truth is right in front of us. It was unusual and not the person I had been friends with since we were teenagers. I wished him well when we left and haven't spoken to him since. Story 6. I used to volunteer at church events as a non-believer because I enjoy doing charity work. When they started weeping for joy when Trump won, as if he was the second coming of Christ and proclaiming, "God answered our prayers," I realized there are plenty of charity opportunities outside the church where I don't have to deal with this cringeworthy hypocrisy. They are probably discussing me and a few others who left with some sappy, weepy, false smiles, suggesting the false ones have left our flock. But honestly, at this point, I don't care. Story 7. Of course, I banned a cousin from Thanksgiving dinner. I am not going to have a racist in my home. They always claim they are not racist because they support Trump. However, my nephew took a picture of this person at a park wearing a "The White House is for Whites" t-shirt. Story 8. Homie gradually became an insufferable bigot and could no longer hide behind the plausible deniability of edgy, ironic humor. Story 9. I stopped talking to my immediate family because they vote against my human rights and are racist toward my husband. It is not a debate. Story 10. I have been spending time with friends in the United States lately, where the situation seems to be particularly concerning. On my end, it is mostly focused on China, as my relatives are in Hong Kong and I am in Canada. Story 11. During Trump's first run for president in 2016, in the middle of the grab them by the pussy debacle, I posted on Facebook that if anyone still supported Trump after that, they could delete me. By the next morning, 20 people had deleted me. I'm not sad they did. I'm sad I was friends with that many people who were okay with it. Story 12. I think it is important to recognize that for many of us, it is not just political beliefs. For me, the political is personal, and my morals guide my politics and vice versa. I have not had to end any close relationships, but I did stop talking to my neighbors when they put up a sign in support of a certain candidate during the last election after I saw them loudly criticizing a liberal candidate who was going door to door. We had never been close but had been friendly in passing, but those incidents made it clear that we are fundamentally opposed on matters that are non-negotiable to me. Story 13. Sure. Just from people I hadn't seen in a while who changed, since in general they aren't going to be close friends before I know at least something about their basic morals and how they view other people. I had a close high school friend who revealed some serious racism after a few conversations getting to know him again. A friend I worked with became radicalized with conspiracy theories and couldn't be talked out of it. I find the word just odd because it implies this is a minor factor. Obviously, there can be political differences that are minor, and people can reasonably disagree about those while being friends. However, there are political differences that should be deal breakers for any moral person. Story 14. I've lost a couple of friends over our disagreement about what is happening in Israel. I am shocked at their inability to see more than one side of the situation. Story 15. I stopped sleeping with a guy because he voted for Jill Stein in 2016, but we weren't really close. We liked each other enough to hook up, but never enough to be in a real relationship. Story 16. My father, a large and outspoken individual, is more afraid of minorities than anyone I know. Yet, he relies on welfare and is unable to work, depending on the state of Arkansas for everything, bringing in what little sustenance he has. I sometimes wonder how I will react when he is calling for help during a crisis that threatens to take away all his support. Story 17. Yes, most of my previous friends and family joined the MAGA cult. I guess I didn't realize that red, yellow, black, and white weren't precious in their sight. Story 18. I've never lost someone over political views. I've lost people who turned out to be pretty racist, and I don't communicate with them anymore. I unfriended or unfollowed them on social media. However, racism isn't a political view to me, even if they believe otherwise. Story 19. I am Canadian, and most of my family lives in the United States. They are not even affiliated with the MAGA movement, but they seem indifferent to the idea of the United States as the 51st state. I am disappointed in them. I would refuse to travel to the United States for anything short of a wedding or funeral right now. That is going to hurt the relationships for sure. To be fair, I have had 2 family visits in my hometown in 15 years, not counting my parents. They would be welcome to visit me. It is incredibly sad because I am making a decision that I know will distance me from the people I have known and loved the longest. But it still feels right to me. Story 20. My only sibling and I do not speak because I completely disapprove of Trump and everything he represents. It was her decision, and I am perfectly fine with it. Story 21. I had a close personal relationship with my country until it became chaotic and elected a criminal as president. Story 22. Friends found out who I voted for this year and told me I deserve to have my baby taken away. They wished death upon me and said they hope my 4-month-old daughter and I get harmed. Story 23. Yes, because to me, politics are aligned with morals. How you vote determines what you believe is best for society, and I cannot be friends with someone who thinks society would be better off if other people lost their rights. Story 24. I am in Minneapolis. We have a terrible police force that has been ineffective for a long time. We need change urgently. Yet, an immature understanding of the situation has seeped into a good friend of mine. Granted, they have always been selfish and sheltered. I think they believe officers only issue speeding tickets and harm people. That is their entire perspective. I don't mind if their proposed solution to the problem is to defund the entire department. I disagree, but I won't hate them for their view. To me, that is not the best solution and would worsen the overall issues in the city. I prefer extensive reform, but not the belief that eliminating all officers will improve the city. They seem to think that reform is not an option and that the police should not exist. I have always accepted that we have different solutions. I didn't like theirs, but why ruin a friendship? Their perspective is that I am now the enemy because I believe some form of police presence is necessary for the city to function. I also want to mention that I attended many protests, sheltered friends during the riots, and invested a lot of time and money into reform efforts. I absolutely believe our policing is a problem and still is. In summary, I lost a 25-year friendship because I wouldn't agree that all officers are bad and that police should never exist again. Story 25. Technically, though probably not in the way you're thinking, I had a very close friend growing up. We met as children and went to high school together. She came from a very conservative religious family and was generally a sweet and accepting person. It surprised me when she started supporting Donald Trump. We both knew we would never agree on that issue, so we decided not to discuss it. She claimed to only support him because she didn't like the alternative. My sister, who was also her friend, got into a big argument with her, calling her names, and things got really ugly. I guess it became awkward for everyone, and it was actually quite traumatic. I don't know about my ex, but we had a lot of political disagreements, and I have the feeling that is why he decided to cheat on me. Story 26. Yes, though not solely for that reason, there were other issues. It was around 2012, and the political divide was not as sharp as it is now. Now, I need to know that we are aligned to a significant degree if I am considering a new friendship. I dislike that it has come to this point. For me, you are either on the side of humanity or you are not. I do not believe either of us would have much, if any, respect for one another if our values diverge so drastically. Story 27. Not me personally, but my brother did, and it makes me very angry. He stood by his friend for years, accepted him for being gay, and helped him pack up and move after his father was arrested for possession of child pornography, only for the same friend to cut contact because my brother didn't vote. Story 28. I had a friend during the Black Lives Matter protests who insisted that black people cannot be racist and that police were murdering black people in large numbers, but it wasn't being reported or talked about by anyone. I agreed that police brutality was an issue and that black people were being disproportionately targeted and killed, but the numbers she cited were not accurate. When she called me a racial slur, I hung up the phone, and we never saw or spoke to each other again. Honestly, I was most upset that she used the wrong slur. We had known each other for 2 years, and you would think by that point she would know my ethnicity. Story 29. In December 2021, COVID-19 was starting to resurge with the Delta variant. Some states were requiring proof of vaccination to enter restaurants, and many were still requiring masks. My then fiancé and I were getting married. We cut down our guest list to 80 people in a venue built for 300. We asked our guests to provide proof of vaccination or a negative test result that was less than 48 hours old. One of my groomsmen and his girlfriend refused. They had been good friends until that point, the kind who would drop everything to help if you had car troubles. I guess this was their limit. I haven't spoken to them since. To my knowledge, no one contracted COVID-19 at our wedding. Story 30. My ex and their family became very conservative after I married, which was a significant reason for my divorce years later due to the changes over time. I did not share their values at all. Story 31. I didn't lose the relationship, but my sister and I differ significantly in our politics. She is conservative, believes abortion should be illegal, and thinks LGBTQ+ topics shouldn't be promoted. I'm her older brother and hold opposing views on these issues. Other than that, we love each other. She makes great financial decisions and always tries to help when she can. She is a wonderful person to talk to because she gives excellent advice and supports me during family drama. My life wouldn't be complete without her. It's just tough when we disagree on social issues, and since she married someone with the same ideologies, I don't think her views will change anytime soon. Story 32. In high school, I drifted apart from a childhood best friend who grew into his Mormon faith. Now, I am in a small group of tired, frustrated individuals, so many of our political views are aligned. Story 33. My close friend group consists of an equal number of Democrats and conservatives. We engage in healthy debates about our views. We are also over 40 years old, which I believe contributes significantly to our discussions. Story 34. I had a close friend for many years. We started to grow apart after I moved, but we occasionally spoke on the phone or visited each other. She is very political, which was fine when we belonged to the same party. After I changed my political affiliation, I knew I couldn't tell her. Otherwise, she would try to persuade me to rejoin her party. She stopped sharing personal updates and flooded me and a few other friends with political emails that she would forward. Eventually, I sent all her emails to the trash folder and blocked her on social media. That marked the end of our friendship. If she had sent me personal emails or if we had still talked in person, it would have been different. I would have kept her as a friend despite our differences. Story 35. A neighbor I thought I was friends with became upset when someone posted a fundraiser musical performance to our mailing list. It is something others have done before, letting people know about cultural events. However, this event was a fundraiser for Palestinian refugees. That friend went and complained to the president of the neighborhood association, claiming she felt threatened by it. I am not sure how, but it was enough to start monitoring what we say on the mailing list. This is why we can't have nice things. And neighbor, if you happen to see this, you unwittingly invoked the Streisand effect when you reacted so strongly. Story 36. Yes, I voted for Trump, and I'll explain why the next time we talk. We haven't had a meaningful conversation since then. There's no reasoning that away for me. Story 37. I am 54. This situation is worse in many ways, but it is not new. I know people who lost friends in the United Kingdom because those friends voted for Margaret Thatcher, which was seen as a threat to their livelihoods and could ruin their town or city. Not to mention Brexit. Story 38. I am transgender, and many of my family members do not accept that. Their political belief that I should not have the right to healthcare gets in the way. Story 39. I agreed with a fellow conservative on a couple of comments, and my liberal friend, whom I thought I was close to but whose friendship was becoming fragile, told me she didn't approve. She hasn't spoken to me in a long time. I miss her. Story 40. My best friend of 15 years has recently revealed that she is a Nazi sympathizer and supports a convicted felon and rapist. Story 41. I have known my friend since we were 5 years old. We are now 64. She couldn't even say yes when I asked her if she voted for the 34-count convicted felon and adjudicated rapist. The same goes for another friend I have known since college. Both couldn't say yes to the question. They gave some vague answer, but couldn't respond affirmatively. The thing they both have in common, in my opinion, is that their churches tell them what to do. I blocked them both on my phone and on social media. My brother is the same way. Story 42. Said that if you work with children, the elderly, or the sick, you should expect to be vaccinated. I was told I was just as bad as a guard at Auschwitz. This ended a 15-year friendship. Story 43. I started replying to people here but quickly decided against it. There are many individuals stating things like, "No, because I'm an adult," and "No, because I'm not an idiot. I value relationships." But do you not recognize that the people you have relationships with may be incredibly hateful individuals? If one of your friends suggested, for example, that the legal age of consent should be lowered to 6, would you still remain friends with them because you're not an idiot? How is it so unbelievable that people may hold extreme and disgusting beliefs that you are unaware of, or that they could adopt more radical views over time? Yet these individuals cling to the notion that it is immature or silly to distance themselves from hateful and disgusting people. The reason is clear. They realize they are on the hateful end of the spectrum and do not want to confront the consequences of their beliefs. So, they frame it as immature to react strongly to their viewpoints. It is truly pathetic. Story 44. He and his wife became increasingly focused on their political beliefs, isolating themselves over time, even before the COVID-19 pandemic. We had stopped discussing politics long before that, but it seemed they wanted to create a more insular environment. Some mutual friends speculated that they had received enough pushback against their negative opinions that they chose to withdraw before anyone could influence their decision. Story 45. I lost my best friend of 10 years due to political differences. I think we were naturally drifting apart, but politics was definitely the final straw. We have never been people to engage deeply in politics, but it became unavoidable as she became more involved in conservative ideology, which really started to define her personality. She got tattoos inspired by a former president, wears clothing associated with that movement, and even has decorations on her car. Her family even hosts events themed around that ideology, including birthday parties and Christmas gatherings with shirts featuring related slogans. Her social media posts and stories were all about that former president. When I tried to discuss it, I never received clear answers. Instead of explaining why she votes for conservative candidates, she focuses on how others perceive her for her views. It's always about not letting the media dictate her choices. Yet she continues to share only specific right-wing perspectives from various platforms. It became overwhelming. Story 46. I haven't yet. My closest friends and family have political beliefs similar to mine, but I have some friends who support Donald Trump, and I am not letting him and his negative influences destroy decades-old relationships with people I care about, mostly my high school friends. I just don't talk about politics with them, and it's all cool. I know in my heart they are genuinely good people. They are just misguided, and all I can do is hope that one day they find clarity. Story 47. My sister claims to be liberal, but her actions suggest otherwise. We were close until I grew weary of her enabling our pro-Trump father and consistently playing the both sides are bad card. I mentioned this on what I thought was an anonymous social media platform, but she saw it and called me a coward along with other unkind names. I haven't spoken to her since. Her job is now at risk because of the current administration, which I hear about through our parents. My father seems pleased about it all. I wanted to maintain peace with her while expressing my feelings, not realizing she would monitor my accounts. I probably should have confronted her, but confrontation hasn't led to positive outcomes in my family. As for my parents, I keep them at a low level of contact. It's not difficult. They rarely have time for me unless they need something. My father is staunchly pro-Trump, and my mother is the type who doesn't vote but repeats political opinions from social media, making her not particularly pleasant to be around. I have a brother, but he's reclusive and doesn't talk to anyone. I'm not sure if I did something specific or if it's because I still communicate with our parents that he hasn't spoken to me in about 2 years. His silence isn't due to politics, and I understand why he chooses not to interact with others. Story 48. My best friend and I are very politically different. However, I refuse to lose my best friend over politics. We do not bring it up, nor does she. Politics is like religion. It's best left alone when it comes to friendships, in my opinion. Story 49. Nobody was close, thankfully, but I did lose 2 cousins who did not like being fact-checked. They would post the most inane, provably false things, and it constantly frustrated me. Story 50. I have not. None of my close friends are particularly radical in any direction. I have 1 or 2 who feel the need to post about it on social media, but that's about it. I did lose a date, though. One girl messaged me on a dating site, and it wasn't long before she asked about politics. I answered honestly, and then I was blocked. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.